Hey everyone, just quick announcement before I share today's episode with Dr. Michael Sosa. Dr. Sosa is doing some amazing work, so I'm excited for him to get to share his story and talk more about chiropractic care. But just want to take a minute to share the release of my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. It's a cute book with bright pictures that follows a toddler on her trip to the chiropractor. It shows her excitement and how she knows that it impacts her health in a positive way. And each purchase of the book will be supporting a project that I started called the Unlock Wellness Project. For each purchase of the book, we will be donating a wellness bag to a child in need. These wellness bags will include non-toxic, chemical-free essentials such as soap, shampoo, toothpaste, a toothbrush, items that a lot of the time children in tough situations don't have access to. We're also going to be shipping wellness bags to flood victims in Houston, Texas, and reaching out to victims of Hurricane Irma as well. You can learn more about the book and about the Unlock Wellness Project by going to my website at drcaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the Shop tab, and then click the Children's Book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video with more information. You can also purchase the book directly on Amazon.com by searching Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. But I hope you guys love the book. Be sure to check out my website to learn more, and thank you so much for the support. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Dr. Michael Sosa. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Dr. Michael Sosa. And Dr. Sosa is the owner of Westchase Chiropractic in Tampa, Florida. I was fortunate enough to get to work at Westchase a few years ago and learn from Dr. Sosa and Dr. Raul Serrano. And it was just an amazing experience, just a loving atmosphere. And I was able to really learn so much. So Dr. Sosa, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
It is my pleasure. I'm the one who should be honored. Dr. Casey, I'm sure you've heard so many times, but the knowledge that all the people listening, when they hear your podcast, is totally changing lives and it's empowering them to move forward in their health. So I'm the one who's honored to be on your podcast.
Oh,
and by the way, having you at the office, we do miss you. I don't know if you remember Yamalet, but we still have patients asking for you all the time.
That's
Actually,
awesome.
It's funny because when she got adjusted yesterday, and that was the first thing when I told that I was that you invited me on this podcast. She was so excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's like, okay, I'm going to go listen. So she's super excited.
Yeah, be sure to tell her I said, hey, that's amazing.
I sure will. So I'm all yours.
All right,
go
cool.
ahead.
I was going to say, Dr. Sosa, if you want to just kind of jump in and just talk about how you got into chiropractic in the first place, and then just what that journey has looked like for you.
Absolutely. Well, as yourself, a lot of people have so many different stories, or like we call it, our big why. Mm-hmm. Through the years, I've had actually lots of different big whys. My first big why was I was playing softball. This is when I was still an undergrad. I was diving for a catch and I hurt my shoulder, and the trainer gave me a card and it just had a doctor's name on it. It just said Dr. Fisher. So I went to this doctor not knowing that he was a chiropractor. I know you've known me for a while. You can't picture me being rude, but I was so rude to this guy. I mean, I literally walked in. I'm like, I don't need a chiropractor. I need a real doctor. I mean, this guy, and believe it or not, he worked on my shoulder. He adjusted me. I came back the next day and I felt so different. I didn't know what was happening. And then when I went to his doctor's report, boom, I was ready to go to dental school. And instead, I switched my whole profession and I became a chiropractor.
That's awesome. And whenever he was having the doctor report, do you want to
mm-hmm.
what kind of stuff was he saying that really resonated with you? Because a lot of people don't know what a doctor report is. So if you want to kind of go into that a little bit.
So let me tell you, he did a great job of educating me and talking about how, the brain controls, just kind of like in your book, right? Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. So we know that the brain controls everything in the body. And he was just telling us how he's just trying to open up nerve flow. But I'm going to be honest, even though Dr. Fisher is a fantastic chiropractor, really where I moved to my next step was once I was already in chiropractic school. The next big why that I had there was from a doctor by the name of Dr. Chuck Ribley. And I'm sure you know who that is, but literally in third quarter in school, and he literally pulled out a sword, or it's something called DE, Dynamic Essentials. Mm-hmm. And that's where I really started to hear about the true power of the body. I mean, he was going on for half an hour, and that's when I started listening to different doctor's reports. So as I said, I've had different big whys. So you're right, listening to different chiropractors, like Dr. Fisher, the first one, and then Dr. Chuck Ribley, the second time I heard an amazing doctor's report. And he was just talking about this innate intelligence, how God gave us every single thing we need. You know, it's the power that made the body. That's what heals the body. So I just started getting intrigued. So even though I was already in third quarter in school, I really fully didn't even understand what chiropractic was at that point. So that was my next step when I really started to have a better understanding of chiropractic. And through the years, I just had, just like yourself, we have different enlightenments where we start to get new reasons why we do what we do.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, your first entry into chiropractic was just because of a sports injury, but then it like led you to find that it's a whole lot more than that. It's just helping the body heal itself, just, you know, how God intended, and helping the body just to heal from the inside out. And so that's amazing that you were able to find chiropractors that teach that, because there's a whole lot of different like specialties that chiropractors can, especially, I mean, you could have easily ended up at somebody that just focuses on sports or just focuses on like personal injury. So, right. I mean, you kind of lucked out that somebody gave you that card with the right resource.
Oh no, I thank God every day. I mean, I would have probably enjoyed being a dentist, but I love being a chiropractor.
Well, you have great teeth, so you're good to go, right?
There you go. But just like yourself, I mean, I've heard you do an amazing job. You're an eloquent speaker. You do a wonderful job teaching people and empowering people about the way the body was meant to be. And going back to Dr. Ribley, what really drew me toward him, now this is going to sound crazy, I know, for those people that are listening, but this is in school. He literally pulled out a sword and he's singing about, I don't know if you know Don Quixote, the Man of La Mancha. And he is actually singing to dream the impossible dream. And basically what he was trying to get across to all us chiropractors, because he realized that a lot of us as students, even in third quarter, we don't understand what chiropractic is. Mm-hmm. We kind of have an inkling of what chiropractic is. And for those of you who don't know about Don Quixote, he didn't do things the way that others did. He didn't want to just listen to the world or listen to man. He wanted to listen to his heart. He knew that he wanted truth. So that's what he basically talked about. He's like, you're going to hear a lot of things in this world, but you need to stick to truth. You need to do healing the way that God intended us to do healing. And we don't do it. It's already inside each and every one of us. So once I heard that is what really got my heart on fire of how amazing this body is. I mean, I've heard you say it so many times, Dr. Casey, God does not need any help to heal. He just doesn't need any interference. And that's really, everything from that point on is really where it was a turning point. And that's what kind of led the path of teaching people about removing this interference and helping the body to work the way God intended to.
That's cool. And then you, what year did you open your office, Dr. Sosa? Or you worked in another office before that, right? I've been so blessed to learn from so many different chiropractors like yourself, working in different offices. So I first started out in 1991, way back is when I graduated. I worked for a chiropractor by the name of Dr. Walter Sanchez. And again, he was totally innate chiropractic. Just a wonderful guy down in Hialeah. That's where I did my internship. Mm-hmm. That's where I started to learn about the body. He had a very, very busy practice helping people change lives. And then I opened up in 93 here in Tampa. From 93 to 2006, I was in one location, but as you know, Westchase Chiropractic, where you were here, we opened up in 2006. So we've been in this location in Westchase since 2006. That's awesome.
And I love it. I love, the workshops. We don't stop doing workshops for community, but this is actually one of the things that I was telling you, and I am so proud of what you're doing with these podcasts. I will not stop teaching every single person around me in this Westchase area. But your podcast is reaching so many people. So that's why I'm the one who's honored to be on your show. So it really is. Anything that's going to help enlighten people, empower people towards truth, I'm all for that.
No, I appreciate that.
Totally
And
for that.
and you do an amazing job with your workshops. And I'm glad that you keep your community so engaged, because it really makes a huge difference. Because if you think about, an average doctor's appointment or even a chiropractic appointment, it's typically, come in when you're in pain, right? But we both know that that's not the answer. It's about avoiding that in the first place. And we also know that more importantly, it's not about pain. It's about keeping the body working at its highest potential. So obviously you don't have pain, but more importantly, your body is functioning like it's meant to, so you can not have to deal with these diseases and these lifestyle diseases that we're seeing so much more and more every day. So I love your workshops, because not only are you incorporating chiropractic, but you're going into other things that are obviously extremely important, like nutrition and mindset, because it all interconnects. We're not compartmentalized, like it all kind of intertwines together. So do you want to talk about the different things that you teach about in your office, and how you teach people to really just intertwine all of those things for just true health and wellness?
Absolutely. So even in school, we learned something called above, down, inside, out. And that's something that we brought into our office here. And I've kind of compartmentalized it into 7 steps. So the first step, and we call it 7 steps to better health, but that first step is called above. And basically that's getting connected to the source. And just like I was saying at the beginning, and just as Dr. Casey, the power that animates us, the power that heals us, the power that runs every single function in our body, God put that there. So true healing, right, comes from that power that God put inside our body. So number 1 is getting connected to the source. And that's endless. I mean, you and I both could have a conversation for hours just on that first step. I don't have to tell you about the power. Some people talk about innate positive thinking, meditation. It's endless. The second one is, when we talk about above, down, inside, out, is down. And basically that's one of the things that, just like in your book, you show how the messages from the brain have to go down through your spine, out through the nerves to every single part of the body. So since we know that those messages that are traveling through your spinal cord are controlling the function and the healing of every single cell in your body, we want to make sure that we keep it as healthy as possible. So you're right. This office is not about getting people out of pain. We love it when people say that they have less headaches or less back pain, but really that's not what it's about. It's about opening up nerve flow, getting rid of that interference so that their body can start healing and functioning the way it was meant to. And also, just like yourself, I know the way that you practice, we teach people about doing things at home. We're very big on home care exercises, doing things to keep their spine from getting stuck, from getting arthritis, from getting degeneration. So really, it's just about taking care of that spine so that those messages can flow down better. Then the third step is actually part of what we call inside. And that's actually, there's 4 steps in that one, inside. Mm-hmm. So first, it talks about healthy food, what we're putting into our body. And again, I know that just from listening to the podcast and listening to you over the years, I know that you know a lot about nutrition and what we need to put into our body. And there's a lot of false pretenses, and there's a lot of things that people think are healthy that really are not. And again, it goes back to the way that for thousands of years people have been eating. That's the way that we should eat. It's when we start to change things, that's when we start to create problems.
Right. Fall into the different marketing schemes and things that are being thrown out on a daily basis.
Exactly. So when we do workshops about healthy food, that's exactly what we're talking about. We're trying to teach people how to eat food the way that our bodies were meant to have food. And then we talk about the next thing that goes into your body is oxygen or exercise, strength. Okay. All these things are going into your body. So the first step is above, right? Getting connected to the source. Down is messages flowing down through the spine. Third is healthy food. The fourth step is putting oxygen and strength into our bodies. Mm-hmm. And I know that you know this as well, because I've seen you do these workouts many times. It's important that we work out smart, not incorrectly, because then you can actually start doing damage to your body.
Right.
So we do different workshops about how to exercise. It doesn't matter whether you're 22 or you're 82. Everyone can put movement into the body and get some more oxygen to your cells. So that's another big one. Then step 5 is clean living water. And again, I know a lot of times when people read that, they say, what do you mean by living water? Well, as you know, Dr. Casey, water from the tap is not the same as something that if you went to a natural spring and got a cup and took out a cup of real spring water, it's totally not the same as tap water. So we educate people on putting as healthy, clean, living water as possible. And I know it's not easy to do. We don't all live like you, close to, you can go to Zephyr Hills. You probably have a spring in your backyard, right?
I don't have a spring in my backyard, but that would be really nice. Yeah. And you know what, Dr. Sosa, a lot of people don't know, because I know a lot of people live in Florida that listen to this, but Florida is actually one of the worst states that have for public drinking water. You're
absolutely right. When we look at tap water, and I actually call it dead water because that's what it is. It's not helping, but it's giving you H2O, but it's not putting life into your body. So a good water source, a good system, a good filtration system to get out some of these toxins that are into our water is very important.
Right. Because Dr. Sosa, if somebody's taking the time to eat organic and avoid a lot of these hormones and chemicals, but you're drinking tap water, it's kind of taking two steps back because you're getting antibiotics in your tap water now because they're so heavily in the water system. You're getting hormones, you're getting birth control, all of these things, fluoride, all of these toxic chemicals are in the drinking water. So yeah, like you were saying, it's a really high quality filter can filter out most of that, and you're going to be in a lot better of a situation for sure.
No, I totally agree with you, Dr. Casey. That is so true. And Florida, we have not just some of the hardest, we have so many chemicals in the water that really, it's important that you get these chemicals out of the water that you're drinking and putting into your body.
Yeah.
Even when you're talking about showering, that's one of the things that we talk about. People, they'll have a great filter on their tap where they're drinking, but they forget that anything that goes on top of your skin, like when you're taking a shower, is going to get absorbed. Mm-hmm. So it's not just lotions, but the water that you take a shower with is also getting into your body. So I agree with you.
Do you know the percent right off? It's like a crazy number of how much, the percent of what you absorb in the shower. Have you ever seen that stat before? I'm trying to think of it because it's something crazy and I can't think of it right off, but you absorb so much in the shower. But
yes, it's not just a couple drops. No, it's true.
It's a lot.
if I remember correctly, depending also on what you're doing, if the person was having a workout, if you're already pretty hydrated to begin with, but it's ounces. It's more than 4 ounces of water that's going into your body. So I don't know if it's a full cup, but I do remember it was in the ounces. So you're right. It's like taking a half a cup of water and just drinking it. So if you have, horrible water coming out of your shower, yes, you're absolutely right. You're putting something into your body.
Right.
That really doesn't need to be
that there. Might, to some people that may be like, well, that's not a whole lot, but think about you're showering every day, you're washing your hands, you're brushing your teeth, all of it just adds up over time. It's not just a little bit, it is a little bit, but it's a little bit over a long period of time. So it's just something really great to be aware of.
No, and you're right. And that's what you said, Dr. Casey, is the key. And that's one of the things that I talk to people about. It's not just the big things. It's the little things that we do every day. Mm-hmm. Every single thing we do every day is a choice. You're either going to make a choice that's going to bring you towards health, or you're going to make a choice that's going to affect your body in a negative way. So we want to stay away from those. We want to make sure that every choice, and as many as possible. No one's perfect, except for my wife. But other than
well played.
Other than that, yeah, there you go. Our goal is to make the choices that are going to bring us closer to health. And you're absolutely right. If you have a good system for your entire house, and then if you want to have something even better for your drinking water, that's fantastic. But now you know that you're not just cleaning your system, you're putting living water, you're putting something that's actually going to benefit, not just rinse out.
Right.
So I am all for that.
Absolutely.
And then the sixth step is we talk about supplementing any missing minerals and vitamins. And again, this is something that I've even heard you teach, Dr. Casey. If you had your own farm and you could grow your organic vegetables in your garden, no one would need a supplement. Mm-hmm. But since that doesn't happen, and most people just go to Publix or their normal supermarket, even if they try to buy organic, unfortunately, since they don't rotate the soil as much as it should be, kind of like the way we were supposed to for the last thousands and thousands of years, we start losing some of the minerals and vitamins. So that's one of the other things that we have a workshop where we talk about. You don't need to take many, but anything that's missing, if your body is missing a mineral or vitamin, that's something that you want to make sure that you put into your body so that your body, again, doesn't have interference.
Right. And I think that's important. It's important to know, with the supplements, it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter what style of food that, like, it doesn't matter, like, if you're paleo or if you're vegan or if you're, whatever, like, you still need to take a good supplementation, because it's not because of you're not getting high quality food, but it's the source of the food, unfortunately, where it's at right now. The soil was so depleted, animals are so, they've been treated so much, they lose a lot of the nutrients. Obviously the plants, they've been treated, so they lose a lot of the nutrients. So it's not the food necessarily, it's the source that it's coming from has been tampered with so much that you're not getting the vitamins and minerals that maybe your great grandparents would have had on their farm. So it's just completely different now. So I mean, it is necessary. It doesn't mean that you're eating poorly. It's just something that unfortunately, like, we just have to do now.
No, you're right. And for those who are listening to this podcast, what you said, Dr. Casey, is so right. Because, thousands years ago, it was different when your grandparents' had a farm. They knew that you couldn't grow the same thing every single year. You would have to grow something, and then you would, after 1 or 2 years, they would actually change and put a different crop, because now you're using different minerals and vitamins that are coming out of that soil. So they would rotate their crops. And then they would even make sure that some of the fields, every 7 years, you have to let a field totally rest with nothing. So if you're a farmer, this is like common knowledge. But because, just like you said, even if someone today has organic and they're doing things where they're not putting chemicals, it's a business. They're using the same soil year after year after year to produce usually the same crop. If it's a tomato field, 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, it's still a tomato field. So just like you said, it's better than nothing. If you get something that's organic, that doesn't have chemicals on it, that is definitely better. But just like you said, unfortunately, it's depleted. And that's the reason that we have to have different minerals and vitamins to add.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And then the last step that we have is getting things out of your body. And that's the one that's tough, because this is definitely, in today's age, just like you were talking about, if you look at the soil, if you look at the water, if you look at all these things, there are so many antibiotics. There are so many chemicals in our water. There's so many different ways that people are putting toxins into our body, even processed foods, like we were talking about. All of these things start to accumulate. And when they start accumulating, they can start causing lots of problems. One of the biggest problems that people don't even realize is that they have trouble where they cannot lose weight, and they don't realize that most of the toxins are stored in fat cells. And that's one of the reasons that people need to have so many fat cells, is there's nowhere else to store these toxins.
Right.
So by slowly getting rid of some of these toxins, not only are you getting something that doesn't need to be in your body, but now you're also not needing that storage. You don't need now so many fat cells to store those toxins.
Right. No, that's awesome.
So these are 7 steps that we go into, and we do different workshops. And usually we may talk about 1 or 2, but we try to keep it short and sweet, only about 45 minutes. But like I say, we want to empower the people here, just like you're empowering the whole nation by listening to your podcast.
No, that's amazing. And Dr. Sosa, you're doing a great job with those classes. I mean, I got to meet so many of your patients that have been with you for a super long time. And I mean, everybody loves your office, and, you hear a lot of stories of just lives that have been changed. And I know you were going through all of your steps, but even just probably even before you started the workshops, I mean, just the power of chiropractic alone, just the stories that you hear of just people healing whenever you remove the interference from the nervous system. And I'm sure you have just a countless amount of stories. Like, I can't imagine the amount of stories that you have.
Well, I have been blessed. And like I said, I don't do it. We just move the bone and God does the healing. But you're right. I have been blessed to have some amazing miracles in the presence. And like I said, and I'm talking to someone who is an amazing chiropractor. I've had you here in the office. You yourself, patients miss you, love the way that you adjust, love the way that you educate them. So I'm speaking to someone who totally understands what I'm saying. We feel like a bystander. We're just moving the bone. But when you get rid of that interference and you allow the brain to be better connected to some part of the body that had interference, it's just amazing to watch how things unfold. The body starts to heal the way it was meant to heal. The body starts to have energy. When a person says, why am I not tired? Or just like when we were talking about nutrition, you can eat organic broccoli, but if you don't have healthy nerve flow going to your digestive system, how is it going to digest properly?
Right. So
you're absolutely right. Even though we talk about the 7 different steps, to my heart, it's still important that we get connected to that source, that we make sure that all the messages that flow through that nervous system flow better not with interference.
Absolutely. And even starting, obviously the sooner you get adjusted, the better, but I mean, in any age, but it's really cool because I follow you guys on social media and just seeing how, your daughter who just had her second baby and it's actually kind of funny, Dr. Sosa, if I was seeing the pictures, it's like, well, that's not actually funny, but yeah, I mean, with the hurricane you guys didn't have power. So your daughter actually had to go to your office to have the baby there.
Yes.
And, but it's still amazing because, you were able to adjust her once she was born. And do you want to talk about just that experience and just the importance of just an infant being adjusted and how it's different and just the importance of it?
Well, do you have a couple minutes? Because I would love to just even tell that story. To me, again, I feel like a bystander. I mean, all of you, first and foremost, my heart goes out and my prayers go out to all the people who suffered. I mean, all these recent storms, these earthquakes, it's sad what's happening. We were blessed. Like I said, all that happened with us is that we didn't have power for a few days.
Right.
So you're right. What was it? Sunday night, Monday. So September 10th and into the AM, the 11th, the hurricane was coming through here. By the time it came through the Tampa area, we were very fortunate that it just knocked out power, but it really didn't cause a lot of problems. So around, 10 in the morning, I remember my wife just having this feeling, and she told Samantha, Sammy, why don't you go to your house and pick up some stuff? Because what if you go into labor today? And you know how that women's intuition. So my wife was just telling my daughter this, and so my daughter did. And so she went to their house, they got some things. But let me tell you, we were pretty blessed. On the 11th, that day, she had nothing, no contractions, no signs whatsoever. So she came back she lives in South Tampa. She came back on this side of town, and around 3 o'clock, she called me and said that she was starting to have back pain. So I met her here at the office, and you're right. She was scheduled to have the baby with a midwife, labor of love, but the birthing center had no power. Our home had no power, and my daughter's home had no power. But we were fortunate. Thank God, the office, Westchase Chiropractic, had power. So I just said, why don't you just go over to the office? I'll meet you at the office. I'll adjust you and just stay there. At least there's some air conditioning so you can walk around. So I adjusted her. I think I met her here just around 4:15. I adjusted her, and then I went back home to help my wife do a few things. And I got a call about half an hour later, just before, my daughter is so punctual. At 4:51 was her first contraction. So we adjusted her around 4:15. About 45 minutes later, she had her first contraction. So my wife's like, turn around and head back to the office. So I was here literally just to be, in case they needed anything. Let me tell you, Samantha and Jeremy, the two of them I'm so proud of them. From 5 to, during the whole pregnancy and during the whole labor process, they were calm as cucumbers. They were basically walking around. I know you know this process, but Jeremy would basically be behind her to kind of give her support. She would just kind of squat down when she would get a contraction so that she wasn't using so much of her energy. So at around 5:30, this is how calm they were, right? From 5 to 5:30, they started having contractions. They were just walking around. It was a beautiful experience just, being here. They called the midwife because the contractions started getting stronger. But again, like I said, this is something that happens within the body the way that God intended. So it was just amazing to watch. So because of this storm, it took 45 minutes for the midwife to get over here to the office.
Yeah.
So by 6 o'clock, even though, like I said, I'm out of the picture. I'm like, guys, this is about you. I want you guys to really just walk around, and I want you to enjoy this experience. But by around 6 o'clock, I could see the contractions were getting a lot stronger. So we basically set up a table, got everything ready just in case we were going to need to check her, because just the way that she was having this contractions, we knew that she was getting into that second stage. I knew that basically the baby's head had to be close. She had to be pretty well dilated. And by, 6:15, the midwife got here. Again, her water broke 5 minutes later. 6:35, the baby was born.
Wow. Hey, that was perfect timing.
Oh my, no, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think I was almost more,
have you ever delivered a baby?
Than they were. I've been at many, but I have not caught.
Oh, okay.
We had a midwife with R3. So I know the process very well.
Right.
But no, I have not. And let me tell you, since when I saw the midwife wasn't here, I thought, okay, this might be my first where I'm going to be catching.
Right.
So, but no, thank God the midwife came in, and literally 20 minutes later, the water broke. My wife was here. I was here. So we got a chance to just be part of it, but we didn't want to interfere. We wanted Jeremy and her to have that whole experience. And again, I'm speaking to someone, I'm a guy, so I've never had this, but you had that wonderful experience before. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted them to enjoy the experience. But I was so proud of the way they did everything. So as I said, at 6:35, the baby was born. So baby Luna, and she has a big sister, Lily. So the two of them, so the whole family was right here. We were the only, of all of us, since Westchase Chiropractic had the electricity, this is where we stayed. We even stayed the night here. That's so awesome. We were blessed. It was just an amazing experience. It was. And then, so I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent.
No, that's okay. It's an amazing story.
To be honest, I didn't even realize that they were videoing me. But yes, one of the first things, and I know that you've done this not only to Max, to your daughter, but I know you've done this to countless babies. It's important to check a baby when that baby is first delivered. So when the baby was delivered, the midwife asked me, you want to go ahead and check? And so I started checking the baby, and I didn't realize. So I guess that's what they put on social media, is they were videoing me checking the baby. And it is important. You want to make sure that there's not interference from that first moment. But she was doing wonderful. I got a chance to check her. Her first adjustment was literally, within minutes of being born. Mm-hmm. So it was just wonderful. It was a beautiful. I don't get tired of it. Every time that I'm at a birth, I'm still at awe. If a patient asks me to come to the hospital or come to them or to their home or to the birthing center, it doesn't matter where. To me, it's always a true miracle.
Right, and it's for those of you that are listening that might not know exactly how chiropractic works, especially for babies. It's not the same as like an adult being adjusted. It's just super light pressures. I mean, Dr. Sosa he was feeling to see if there were any misalignments. If there were, just extremely light pressure, just to get the body functioning and healing with the nervous system in the right alignment. So that's what he's looking for.
And you, Dr. Case, are exactly right. And that's the reason we like to say check. Mm-hmm. We check babies because there's lots of babies that we don't need to do a thing. But if you check 10 babies and 2 of them need something, how many years should you wait? How long should you leave that interference in their body? And you do not want to leave that interference. So even though you're right, it's very gentle. You want to start helping make sure that nerve flow has little or no interference, not interference from day one.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, a baby, a young child, they're the ones that heal the quickest. It's when you get to, adulthood, where they've had years and years and years of damage and compensation and, disease and medication. I mean, all of that stuff adds up, and it takes a lot more time. So if you can prevent it at an early age, then it just sets them up for just a more successful path with their health. So it's just getting proactive instead of reactive, basically.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And this is, again, you have so many different speakers on your podcast, but we all have the same mission. And that mission is just to help the body to heal and to function the way it was meant to. And that's just an important step. Checking a baby from day one is one of those vital steps.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that story with Sammy. That's awesome. And I'm extremely proud of them as well. She's adorable. So
yeah, thank you. I'm a real grandpa now. It's funny. Patients right away are like, I don't carry my cell phone when I'm adjusting, but I run over the back, I grab my cell phone and I start showing pictures of Lily and Luna. So I'm like, they're like, okay, you're a real grandpa now.
That's funny. No, I love it.
So I can't help it.
That's awesome. And no, Dr. Sosa, I love the work you're doing. And what is the best way for people to follow you on social media? That way they can keep up with everything that your office is doing, your workshops, if you put any like online workshops on, what's the best way for people to follow you on social media or even a website?
Sure. One of the best ways, if you just want to go onto our westchasechiropractic.com, there's a lot of different links. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not at the level where you are with these podcasts, but we're trying to do a lot of different workshops.
Awesome.
And even though most of the workshops are live here, we are starting to do some educational things on social media as well. So again, anything that is going to empower, but that's probably the best way. If you just go on to westchasechiropractic.com, and you can see all the different links.
Okay, cool. So Facebook, Instagram, all of that.
Exactly.
Awesome.
We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And like you said, we're we're still babies compared to you, but we're trying to get the message out.
No, you guys are doing great.
But I love changing. And that's something, even though I'm a little bit old school, I love being in front of people. Mm-hmm. And that's why I will not stop. Even though I think that social media is absolutely important, I will not stop doing the live workshops here in the office.
No, and you shouldn't, because you guys do amazing at those, and you're an amazing speaker. So that's awesome. No, I'll put all of those social media links in the show notes. And then Dr. Sosa, just this closing question that I ask every guest. But if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that helped you the most in your wellness journey, your chiropractic journey, but if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
I started thinking about this, and by far the best thing is to listen. Mm-hmm. Knowledge is important, and you want to learn this knowledge, but no doctor is more intelligent than your own body. So if you can listen to your body, listen to the way your body talks to you, that's going to tell you if what you're doing is right or if what you're doing is wrong. And again, I know this is something that you're teaching your people. So if I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say that. Listen to your body. Listen to your heart. Listen to that feeling of what needs to be done and what not needs to be done.
That's awesome. No, I love it, Dr. Sosa. And thank you again so much for taking the time to come on. I loved having you, and I'm excited to share everything that you guys are doing at Westchase with everybody listening to the podcast. So just thank you so much.
Doc, I am the one who's honored, and thank you for changing so many lives. God bless.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Dr. Sosa. He's doing such amazing work, and I'm just excited for you guys to follow him on social media to keep up with everything that he's doing. You can find the social media links and the website link that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website at drcaseyjohnson.com. That's DRKASEY Johnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, their websites, all of that. So all of Dr. Sosa's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode, be sure to jump on iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. And like I spoke about in the intro, also be sure to check out my first children's book of my Healthy Children's Book series called Maddox's Trip to the Chiropractor. Each purchase of the book supports the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. You can learn more about the book and the Unlock Wellness Project on my website as well at drcaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Shop tab, then choose the children's book option. You'll be able to read a short description and even watch a short video to learn more. If you purchase the book, be sure to share it on social media using the hashtag UWProject. I'll repost it and give you a shout out on the podcast. But I hope you guys loved the book. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope you loved today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.